Hello, welcome to The Buzz. My name is Susie Lytle, and today we're going to be covering some hot topics in the preserves. First, we'll start off at Hamel Woods, where construction workers are hard at work removing the dam. Then we'll learn more about monarch butterflies and why they're so obsessed with milkweed. Plus, I'll have you look closely. Is that a twig or a walking stick? We'll answer all of your questions on this episode of The Buzz. Welcome to Hamel Woods. Located in Shorewood, this preserve has a lot to offer, especially in recreation opportunities. But that's not what people are talking about these days. There's a large project underway that's getting a lot of attention, the Hamel Woods Dam Removal. We've been fielding a lot of questions about the dam removal, so joining us today is Forest Preserve District Executive Director Ralph Schultz to talk about why removing the dam is so important. Plus, we'll learn how the dam is getting removed from Robert Velasquez, who is the president at Semper Fi, the construction company hired to do the job. And before anyone else asks, no, we did not find any lures or anything else weird when we drained the riverbed. Sorry to disappoint. The dam was built in the 1930s by the Civilian Conservation Corps. It stood about 4 feet high and made out of concrete and limestone. It was constructed when the DuPage River had lower water levels than it does today. The idea was to make a pool of water used for recreational purposes. But over time, the DuPage River has changed, and that has caused us to change our management of the river at Hamel Woods. The first step of the process is to remove the dam, which began in July. Thank you, Ralph, for joining us on another exciting episode of The Buzz. Today we're here to talk about the Hamel Woods Dam. First, can you tell us why the Forest Preserve is removing it?
Sure. So a study was done back in the early 2000s by the Conservation Foundation. And they studied a number of dams along the DuPage River, the Hamel Dam being one of them. And what they found, based on their study, was that there were certain species of macroinvertebrates, bugs, and fish that could not traverse north of the dam. So we recognized from that and from some of the other studies that were done that the dam was an impediment to the health of the river. And so then we did further studies later on that were commissioned by the Forest Preserve District that essentially reiterated that or we found those same results.
You mentioned the Conservation Foundation and our own research. Was there any other groups involved in making this decision?
Sure. So a group of communities came together to create what's called the Lower DuPage River Watershed Coalition. Those are municipalities along the river that have wastewater treatment facilities. And part of the work that they're doing to try to improve the health of the river is to fund certain projects along the length of the river that can lead to improved health. And so the Hamel Dam removal was one of those projects identified by that group. And again, so that's all the municipalities that are located in Will County that have wastewater treatments.
It's a big community involvement.
Absolutely.
How long has this project been in work?
Since about 2016. That was when the first engineering study was done to determine what types of modifications we could do to the dam to improve the passage of fish and macroinvertebrates. And then we followed that up in 2018-19 with a more rigorous engineering study that actually looked specifically at the removal and modification of portions of the dam.
How is the removal going to help the river?
So what it will do is mostly it will allow fish passage from the lower portions of the river to the northern portions of the river, as well as macroinvertebrates that were species that existed south of the river but could not migrate north of the river. So once we remove dams along the river, Hamel being one of them, and others are being removed in DuPage County as well, we'll be able to basically allow free passage and migration of those fish species.
You mentioned macroinvertebrates. Can you talk about why they're important, these little aquatic insects?
Sure, they're basically the food source for all the fish that live in the water.
Yeah, everything eats them, so
Absolutely.
you have to have that food.
Right.
How will this affect the water levels when it's all said and done?
There'll be a slight decrease in the water elevation on the upstream side of where the dam was, but the downstream side will remain at its previous, as it was. And then we expect that there'll be a slight decrease and change in the river itself for about 1,000 feet upriver. Totally contained within the preserve. What will happen is the river will actually come in a little bit when that pool is no longer.
So should we be concerned about flooding then? You're sounding like it's going to be lower than more.
Right. So no, absolutely not. And the reason being is that the dam never provided any kind of a flood relief or protection. The river flowed right over the top of the dam.
Thank you, Robert, for taking your time away from the construction site to join us to talk about how this whole project's getting going. So let's start with, what are your first steps on removing the dam?
The most important thing, stop the water, control the water. And once we got that out, the project scope was to remove the concrete dam.
In addition to the dam removal, the project also entails adding rocks and boulders to create riffles in the water and to help oxygenate the water.
We're installing natural outcropping anchor stones along with natural cobblestone clusters to create more of a naturalistic look. Yep. Planning of the project was the most important, and then having a good subcontractor like Port of Dam, because the project is determined by how well you control the water. So they've done a great job. And again, Mother Nature's been good to us. So as soon as the water stops, we get in and get out. No time wasted.
The project here at Hamel Woods is expected to be completed in October, but weather and other factors could affect that timeline. And keep in mind, while construction is going on, the parking lot closest to the dam, plus the section of the DuPage River Trail, along with the river itself, are closed to the public for safety. To keep tabs on our progress of this project, check our social media accounts and reconnectwithnature.org.
The days are getting cooler, and it's the perfect time to get moving in the great outdoors with this year's Woods Walk Challenge. This self-paced hiking challenge means you can tackle it how you want to, when you want to. Go solo and use it to get some stress-free alone time, or bring a friend. The 10 trails have something for everyone. From cool tree canopies, colorful native plants, wide open views, or a dose of history, you're sure to see plenty of cool things along the way. Pick up a hiking guide at any of our 5 visitor centers, then hit the trails. Turn in your travel log after completing 7 or more of the hikes to receive your collector's medal. So hop to it and start exploring. Map your next adventure at reconnectwithnature.org.
There are more insects in the world than any other group of animals. They're plentiful and delicious, making them the base of the food chain. Some insects rely on speed, stingers, bright colors, or camouflage to keep the predators at bay. One of the greatest masters of camouflage in our preserves is the common walking stick. These tricky insects are sure to make you take a second look. In the world, there's 3,000 different types of walking sticks. In Illinois, we have 5. Young walking sticks start out as nymphs, and they're only about a centimeter long. They're greenish yellow, blending in with the bushes and shrubs. Now, as they get bigger, they molt, or they shed their skin. At this time, they can deploy a special defense. If a predator comes along and bites its leg, it can break it off at the joint. Then when it molts again, it will just regenerate a new leg. Once it's an adult and it stops molting, it will measure to be about 3 to 4 inches. When fully grown, these walking sticks will head to the treetops. They're herbivores, eating mainly leaves. To help them eat in peace, they have a few tricks to fool the birds, reptiles, and spiders that see them as tasty treats. First off, they look like a twig. They have skinny brown bodies with green little stem-like legs. Now, if a predator gets too close, they'll stick up their first legs and their set of antennas straight up to make themselves look like even a longer twig. Now, if the wind's blowing, they'll sway with the leaves, becoming one with the tree. And if that still doesn't work, the walking stick will firm up to feel like a twig if the predator is poking around. The next time you're out hiking on a forested trail, keep your eyes out for walking sticks. They're active in the summer, and oak trees are one of their favorites. You may be lucky to spook one during the day and see all these adaptations at work. Monarchs and milkweed. You've probably heard a lot about them, but what's all the fuss? The monarch butterfly is one of the most iconic insects in North America, and it happens to be our state insect. This butterfly has a very unique relationship with the milkweed plants and use it for its life cycle. But most importantly, monarch butterflies are in trouble, and they need our help. It all starts with an egg and a milkweed plant. Milkweed plants are host plants for the monarch butterfly. That means monarchs need milkweed to survive. If you don't have any milkweed, you don't have any monarchs. The monarchs only lay their eggs on the leaves, and the caterpillars only eat the leaves. In Illinois, we have 24 species of milkweed. They can be found in all different kinds of habitats. If you look a little closer, milkweed tends to have pairs of leaves arranged down the stem. If you break off a leaf, you'll see the milky sap that gives it its name. This sap contains a chemical that makes the plant poisonous to mammals and birds that eat it. The caterpillars take advantage of this because they ingest the toxin, making themselves poisonous to any potential predators. The milkweed flowers come in lots of colors depending on the species. They can be pinks, purple, white, and even orange. Some of the well-known species are common milkweed, butterfly weed, swamp milkweed. This is common milkweed. Now the flowers are gone, but once they get pollinated, they leave this spiky pod behind. This pod is chock full of seeds. Come fall, it will open up and each seed is connected to a little cotton puff that will blow it away to plant more milkweed. Milkweed is essential to monarchs, but it also provides homes for many other insects and spiders. I am always excited to see what I can find when I search a plant. In the past, I've seen tons of leafhoppers, crab spiders, weevils, beetles, and even rusting katydids. Another common caterpillar you may run into is the milkweed tussock moth. These are what I like to call the punk rockers. They're really fuzzy caterpillars with orange and black white spikes sticking out. And their strategy is the same as the monarchs, but they travel in packs. You'll see more than 1, 2, sometimes 10 of them together, and they'll strip the milkweed clean. Now they're still native, so they're still good to keep in your yard. You're just gonna have to plant more milkweed so everyone can share. Let's not forget the flowers. Milkweed flowers provide great sources of nectar for all sorts of pollinators, including bees, butterflies, and even little skippers. At Plum Creek Nature Center, the staff raises caterpillars in an enclosure to help educate visitors about the life cycle, milkweed, and how special these monarchs really are. Monarch eggs can be found on the underside of leaves to protect them from the elements. Females will lay 300 to 400 eggs within a few weeks. She will lay each egg individually from leaf to leaf. These eggs are small and about a pale yellow color. They also come to a little point. If you look even closer, you'll see little lines or ridges. Eggs take about 3 to 5 days to hatch. When they get ready, you'll notice a little black tip. That's the caterpillar's head. When the caterpillar hatches, often will eat its egg as its first meal. At this time, the caterpillar is only the size of an eyelash. Monarch caterpillars have yellow, black, and white stripes. They only eat milkweed leaves, getting bigger and bigger as they do. Through the course of their lives, they'll molt 5 times. Molt means that they shed their skin. The stages in between each molting is called an instar. At 11 to 18 days, they're at their last instar, and they'll start climbing up for their big transformation.
So comparing the two, this one hatched a few days before this one did, so you can see that they grow really fast.
Next, the caterpillar will find a safe, sturdy, hidden place to hang upside down in a J shape to start forming a chrysalis. Now it'll hang upside down like this for a while, doing little sit-ups, making sure its little silk fawn is holding strong, holding it tight. It can be in this J shape for a few hours. I notice once the antennas are wrinkly, it's go time. They'll wiggle and wiggle and wiggle until they take off their caterpillar clothes for the last time, revealing the chrysalis underneath. The monarch will be in its chrysalis from 8 to 14 days. When it's ready, the chrysalis turns from green to clear, showing the orange and black butterfly underneath. Once it emerges, it looks pretty wrinkly, and its abdomen is really full of fluids. It has to get its blood pumping throughout its wings before it can fly. This whole process of drying and getting its blood flowing takes about an hour or so.
So this is the fresh monarch that just opened today. Definitely beating those wings, making sure they're stretching out. She's still kind of pumping out the blood and all the fluids in there. And they'll sit here and kind of pump their wings and make sure everything's working well before they take off.
The whole process from egg to adult butterfly takes about a month. Now normally adult butterflies live a handful of weeks, but monarchs are special. They have generations throughout the spring and summer. The last generation, found in August and September, is called the super generation, and they can actually live 4 to 5 months. And this is because they have to make a long journey to Mexico. Monarchs are the only butterfly that do a 2-way migration. Using the sun and an internal compass passed down from their great-great-grandparents, monarchs can fly 50 to 100 miles a day. At night, they'll roost in groups to stay warm. You might find groups of 100 to 1,000 huddled together. We were even lucky to find one a few years ago at our very own Hickory Creek Preserve. In all, the journey to Mexico is about 3,000 miles. Once there, they'll stay there the whole winter. Come spring, they'll start the life cycle all over again. Researchers will count the number of monarchs that make it to Mexico. Unfortunately, 80% of their population has declined in the past 2 decades. They believe that there's a lot of things responsible for this. First off, habitat loss in both their summer, winter, and along the migratory routes. Plus, use of pesticides, herbicides, and illegal logging in the area that they winter can all contribute to their decline. Researchers estimate that in the next 20 years there's going to be a complete collapse. They've even tried to propose the monarch butterfly to be on the endangered species list in December of 2020. Unfortunately, there are other higher priority species that got the spot. However, the monarchs will be reevaluated every year to see what their status is. Not all hope is lost. We still have the power to help our state insects. Monarchs are serving as a poster child for many other pollinators that are suffering from many of the same problems. By bringing in native plants to your yard, you can not only help the monarchs, but help other native species from caterpillars, birds, to mammals. Now, we learned monarchs need milkweed, so try to plant some common milkweed, butterfly weed, or whatever kind of species that are native in your area to your yards. Watch your chemical use and try to find more natural options. And lastly, spread the word. Tell everybody about how amazing these monarchs and their life cycle are. The more we learn about a species, the more we're willing to protect them. Forest Preserve's mission is to enhance and protect the natural areas. Now check back at Hamel Woods to see how the dam removal has benefited the ecosystem. And while you're out exploring, see if you can find any monarch way stations at our facilities or preserves that help protect the habitat. If you have any other questions, contact us at reconnectwithnature.org. And while you're there, search our headlines and wildlife articles to stay up to date on all the preserve news. I hope to see you on a new adventure, but until then, I'll see you next time on The Buzz.